If you can do it, I can do it. 50 years of great memories of these guys right here. And even though they can't hear and see, they're still wonderful people. I want to thank you. It always amazes me when you get this many people show up for an event. You know what this is? This is a thank you. Now, it's not a thank you for you doing your wonderful job, and all doing your wonderful job. It's a thank you to the people who work behind the scenes, put up these tables, cook this food, serve you, make sure your every wish is taken care of. So it amazes me how they do that. So and I'm going to give them a round. And then, you know, when I met you last year, I thought you looked like a smart woman. And I was thinking up until a couple of days ago that you were a smart woman. But when you let Roy Gregory get away, you messed up. Because I'll tell you, Roy Gregory was the kind of guy. Now, he'd show up in your office back in the day when they had that little bitty skinny girl that was the president. Oh, no, I didn't hear that. He just happened to be that way.
Good start, Tom.
Roy Gregory, in the middle of an afternoon one day, walks in my office. Now, when you walk in my office, I don't talk to anybody unless you want to spend money. If you want to spend money, I'll talk to you all day long. But Roy Gregory and this little girl come in there, and he says, Tom, this is the president of Austin Peay State University. I said, you're kidding me. But you know, Roy was an intent, and when he looked you in the eye, you knew you were in trouble. Because he sat there that day. This stadium was not here. But both those people said, we're going to build a stadium, and we're going to raise, at that time they said $13 million. And then I got a little queasy because I didn't have any dollars, but they said they were going to raise $13 million. And I looked at them like they both have absolutely lost their mind. Because, you know, back in the day, we had this stadium right here, and that's the old municipal stadium, and it's had at least 1,500 people. But you know what? Little Sherry Hoppy, who was the president, she said, you know, we're going to do this. We're going to start the scholarship program, and we're going to do it with you or without you. And that little girl, that little skinny girl, she did this. I said, yes, ma'am, count me in. I'm ready to go. But that was Roy Gregory, and pray for me too, because I'm only halfway through my speech, okay? So kudos to you, Roy, for this wonderful house that we can have this beautiful program in. I love you, and I could never work as hard as you did. If I did, I'd have made a lot more money. So thank you. Now, another thing that I want to get out of the way, and this is just a little house cleaning. I'm looking out here at some of my old ball players, and there's some old ones out there too from before us. But I want to thank each and every veteran that served. And we have plenty of them that were in battle. Thank you. And when you see a veteran, please say thank you.
Amen.
They are fighting. They are fighting for our freedom, which is not free, and they continue to do it today. So let's pray for them. Now, there's a couple of people on this team of ours that could not make it, and they had real good reasons. One's Johnny Ogles, and he's on the walls everywhere around here. He happens to be in Scotland with his son golfing, so he couldn't make it. And then Ken Karazinski's on his island up in New York doing whatever he does up there. He couldn't make it. And then we got George White, who is up in the Smoky Mountains, and he's with his daughter and new son-in-law. They're backpacking. And then Aubrey Flagg is a kind of a guy, he would have been here because he loves the university more than anything. And he is at his wife's 50th high school anniversary. So now, above all, the backbone of all our Bill Dukes meetings in the fall when we get together in October and play golf and tell other lies is Ray Thomas. Ray Thomas is on a cruise right now in New England with his two daughters. Now, Ray needs a cruise because he lost his... I'll be okay.
You're all right.
He lost his wife. Ernestine, you know, she was a sweetheart.
Amen.
She fit in with us. As a matter of fact, she's probably the only one I know who could have kicked Bird's butt. I guarantee you. She did. She died after a long battle with cancer May 1st, and it happens. Everybody's been through it. So now, well, I'm glad you got emotional because I didn't plan on this. Now I'm going to talk about some of our teammates that aren't here. And after I talk about it, we're going to have a moment of silence for these friends of ours, these icons in our minds. Now, I don't want you to be sad. I want you to be glad that we knew them. Because if they knew we were sad, and Dillard's one of them, you guys are in trouble. So I'll mention them this way. Sammy Flatt, Tommy Dillard, Larry Black, Tom Ross, Tommy Woodring, Wayne Brown, Joe Webb, Bob Nielsen, Dick Crafton, Jerry Hackney, which is on the pitcher diner, he just died recently, our leader, Bill Dukes, and Jim Lane. And if we could just have a moment of silence for them. Thank you, and we think about them each and every day. I know we do. Now, I'm going to take you on a journey, and it starts in 1962. Now, I don't know if anybody knows where Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is. That a girl, she's a Penn State fan. But in 1962, Bob Stishak, Ken Karazinski, Ed Bunio, and Tom Jones were coming to Austin Peay to play football. Now, I don't know about Bunio, but Stishak, Karazinski, and Jones, we didn't know there was a Tennessee, So we get in the car and come down here. And it was a wonderful journey, and it was the start of something really, really special. So what happens in 1962, like all fall camps, Coach, we come together, we meet each other. They didn't understand the way we talked, and those Southern boys, we couldn't understand them. So it was a good relationship starting right off. We just shook, we didn't know what they were saying. Well, we learned later what they were saying. So in 1962, we all get together, we have a fall camp, and we have a coaching staff, and across from the Red Barn, we had whatever that was called over there, that field. We started 1962 off slow. We ripped off 0-6. We were rolling, and we were happy about that 0-6. But then we went to Western Kentucky. Now we're playing at Western Kentucky, and we're 0-6, and our coach comes in the locker room before the game, and he says, "Fellas, you're at the crossroads." And Petey Bush looked at me, and I looked at Petey Bush, and we didn't know whether to laugh, cry. And we thought, can this get any worse? Well, it did. We lost 3 more games, so we're 0-9 now in 1962. Nobody's happy. People in Clarksville wouldn't talk to us. We had a president, the deans, no one talked to us. The teachers very talked to us. But as a reward for going 0-9, now we got a reward. We went to our first bowl game. Now, you never had been to a bowl game here, but we went to our first bowl game. We happened to get the pleasure of playing the Screaming Eagles from Fort Campbell. Did you ever see that football team? It was like the Green Bay Packers. So, but it was called the Charity Bowl. And I'm wondering, what kind of charity is this? The nice part about it, we got to stay an extra week where all the kids went home. We played Thanksgiving Day, and we got a set of couplings. That was our reward. Now, that season ended, and Christmas could not come fast enough. So we all went home for Christmas. And then we come back. Now, when we come back, we found out 3 things. A, our old coaching staff was gone, because when you're 0-10 coach, you go. B, we had a new coaching staff from Millsaps College in wherever that is, Mississippi, somewhere down there. And then C, we have a meeting with the new coach in about a day. Now, Coach Stutes did you ever know Coach Stutes? He didn't know there were 7 parts of speech. I didn't know either. He was worse than I am. He walked into that meeting, and we had in Coach Sanford's room, And it was a big room, and we're all in there. And this old robust guy comes in there, and you know, Coach Stoops was always smoking a cigarette like Bird. He walked in that room, that's the first time we've ever seen him. And I remember this phrase. He looked at that crowd and he says, I guarantee you things are going to change. And of course we all, yeah. Well, now I want you to know that the 7th week of that year, I got my MCL torn up and I was in the hospital. I couldn't play spring practice. Thank you, Lord. That was, and these guys were there. That was the bloodiest, most meanest helmets flying practices I've ever seen. Now, I went out in sweats and I was running the hill and kind of looking over there every once in a while to make sure no one was dead. But after that spring practice, we had what they call now is exit meetings with each player. And an exit meeting is saying, you know, you did pretty good. You ain't worth a hoot. You got to go. But the thing is, the exit meeting is, and everybody knows this because I've been in that office several times, for an exit meeting and a couple other meetings, but the exit meeting was the one. It's a 6x9 room over in the little red barn over here. In that 6x9 room, when you put Coach Stoops in there, you know, he's a pretty big old boy. They took that 6x9 down to a 5x8. And then when he started talking to you, it was like a 2x4. And that meeting was this. We had 7 to 10 players kept their scholarship. We had 7 to 10 players got scholarships from that spring practice. And then the in-between, we had a whole bunch of guys that wasn't here. So we had about 14 to 10 guys survive that stayed, and they were gone. Now, the funny part about that year we didn't think was bad, they had what they call the rainbows. And I have a couple of rainbow guys sitting in here that they didn't deserve uniforms, they didn't have scholarships, but Bobby Bird had a V-neck on over his shoulder pads coming out of practice. But those rainbow guys, what they did was they played against the varsity guys, and unfortunately they beat our butts, and that's why we're 0-10. So we get through that spring in those meetings, we come in next year. Now we're rolling next year because you know what they did? A couple of rainbows got scholarships, and then Coach Stoops and the staff, they went out and they got junior college transfers in, you know? Now, junior college transfers was a big deal. So that was Dillard, Parsons, Toombs, Larry Black. Now, these are big guys. You know, these guys are winners. They're coming from winning programs. Now, they're redshirt. They're not eligible. They can't play. And every time they come to practice, they're angry. And you know what they did? They took the Rainbows position and they beat us up all fall long. But let me tell you what had happened. They would chase us, they would beat us, but it made us a better team because what happened was we ripped off, now listen to this, 0-8. We're rolling. Again, our sophomore year, or for some of us, our second year, okay? So we're rolling. So we're playing in this stadium right here, and we played UT Martin. They called it UTMB back in the day. I don't know what the MB was, but UT Martin. We ended up beating UT Martin, and now we're 1-8. Now that picture's somewhere around here where we beat them, and we thought we won the Super Bowl. But you know what? We knew we were going to the bowl game, the charity bowl. We got to play Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell, these guys are men. They have children. They've been to war. You know, they're angry. We did okay in that game because they kicked the field goal and they got us for a safety, and it ended up being 5-0. But at the end of the game, they were down here on the 10-yard line, and their all-world pro punter punted one down to the 5-yard line, and Chilcutt caught the ball. But he started on the 10, and he started running back, and by the time he was on that side of the field, he's running across here. Now, we had a wall. You know what a wall is? That's where the tackle comes down, and it's kind of like snipers. We're looking for guys who aren't looking. That's what we were. Well, there's an all-pro, all-Army, all-world boxer that is just about to get Chilcutt. And yours truly come down and knocked him into Davison County. Now, the good part about it is Chilcutt goes from the 5-yard line, and he's running through all these grown men that are angry. He gets down to the other 5-yard line and runs out of steam because back in the day, we played both ways. He was on the kickoff team, return team, punt team. I don't know, he didn't even manage, I don't know. But we got down to the 5-yard line, and we had time for one play, and we threw a pass and missed it, and we lost 5-0. So, but we ended up 1-9. Now, the transformation was happening. We didn't realize it. We weren't mature enough to realize it. But a couple good things happened. We, the Fort Campbell thing was behind us. We were done, and all those junior college transfers were eligible. They were playing for something now. Spring practice comes, it was one hell of a spring practice. So we're feeling pretty good about ourselves after that year. So we're going into our junior year, and that's the third year for some of us, okay? Some people were juniors, some people want to be juniors. They're our third year. So now we're coming back, and I think we're pretty good. But the funny part about that is, our quarterback, he wasn't even on the depth chart 2 springs ago. He wanted to go home, and his daddy said, son, you can come home, you get a job, start paying your rent. And of course, he came back because he didn't want to do that. Well, as fate would have it, Coach, either kids flunk out of school, they get in trouble, get thrown off the team, or they get hurt, and that boy come back, and that's happened. He went from number 4 to number 1, so he was our quarterback. And we had another kid with those exit meetings. He needed a little bit more money. And the coach told him, we can't give you any more, because you try to spread your scholarships out and give a quarter, an eighth, 1/16 of a scholarship to make people feel good. So he left us. And that year, the funny thing happened, our center, who was from Father Ryan, blows his knee out. So guess what? We have a great quarterback, but we don't have anybody to give him the ball. So Coach Dukes, one of the smart things he did, he swallowed his pride, and he called that young man. And the young man come back, and he's one of those all-overseas players, by the way. So strange things are happening. So we ripped off 3 or 4 games, and I can't remember if it's 3 or 4, but we go to Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's a great team. They have some pretty good guys. So we go ahead and we tie them 6-6. We miss an extra point. They miss an extra point. Coach Dukes would not let us kick a field goal because he wanted to do it the old-fashioned way. You run it down their throats, but their throats were like this. You couldn't get down their throat. Anyway, we go 6-6 there, and we were traumatized because we've been undefeated 3 or 4 games up until then. So as a result, we go up to Moorhead the next week, and we played a pretty good game. We get to the second half. In the second half, we have a couple unexpected fumbles, and we try to do a 2-point conversion. Our back gets stood up in a line, and as a result, we lose 22-21 at Moorhead. Now, we tied, and we lost the game. Now, it wasn't a pretty sight. It wasn't a pretty sight with those coaches because they weren't understanding about anything. But we came back, and you know what happened? We ripped off. We went to 7-1-1. Okay, that means you got 7 wins and 1 tie and 1 loss. We get rewarded. We go to the charity ball. Fort Campbell, Screaming Eagles. But it was even better this year. You know why? The week before, they beat Fort Benning in the All-Army Championship. So, but the nice part about it is about that time, we're all about brain dead because we didn't think anybody could beat us. I promise you. So we come in, guess what happens? We beat them 15-14 on this field right here. In the charity bowl, and guess what our reward was? We got a set of cufflinks. I'll bet some of these guys have those cufflinks. So anyway, we finish that year out, go through spring practice, and then we're rolling into our senior year, or for some people, the 4th year. You understand that? Yeah. So as things would have it, we got our all-conference center back, so now we got a center, and quarterbacks are going down. We got one guy got thrown out, one guy got hurt, one guy left, so we don't have any quarterbacks, and we have a center. Now that's a problem. So Coach Lane had Rodney Rogers, who was a 5th-year senior, and Rodney was going to play baseball. So Coach Lane says, no, you're going to be on your quarterback, and he was. Now Rodney wasn't, they called him Squeaky because he like this all the time, but I'll tell you what he did. He didn't throw any interceptions. He guided the team down the field, and He got us to 6-0. Unbelievable. Little bitty kid. And I don't think, and I apologize, but I forgot his name on the deceased. Rodney is deceased, and he was very instrumental in all our hopes and our wishes and everything. But we got to 6-0. Now, I'm going to go back just a little bit. We got to 6-0. Now, I want you to listen to me, okay? This is to you. We lived in Miller Hall. That was the Taj Mahal back then. And the reason being is we didn't have air conditioning. We had a black and white television that had two stations that were fuzzy and no remote. We didn't have internet, computers, and we didn't have cell phones. But it was better than that. We didn't have any money. So, and you'll all attest to this, you know what our entertainment was? Each other at Miller Hall. If we went 300 feet from Miller Hall in those 2 years, I'd like to know who did it, except to go home at Christmas. I'll keep that in mind. But anyway, we're 6-0. We're playing this game right here, 1966, 65. This is the biggest crowd ever in this stadium, 12,500 people. That's the old stadium. Both those concrete slab bleachers were filled. They had the end zones filled. I mean, it was a buzz. It was a buzz in Clarksville, Tennessee. The Clarksville citizens and people loved us. They talked to us in public. The professors loved us. The deans loved us, and the students loved us. Now, here's an odd thing. We had a world-class band, Dr. Aaron Schmidt. And when we practiced over there, they used to come down. We practiced at 3:30 or 5:30, and they used to come down about 4:05, and we're over there sweating. And, you know, there's only two people that like practice, and that was Bobby Bird and Chilcott. And they ain't right, okay? This band would come down the hill by Miller Hall. They'd be marching down, and there's a couple of band members right over there. They'd be marching down, rip them up, tear them up, get them down, Gunners. Now, that was their cheer. But they got at the bottom of that hill, and they started playing a tune.
There you go.
This would be the start of something big. So, you know, Coach Stoops was an opportunist. So he practiced, he brings us in after practice, you know, and he says, what do you think the name of that song is? And, you know, we're all looking at each other, you know, we didn't know what the name of that song was. And he says, fellas, this would be the start of something big. And that's before we played the game, okay? And those band members were as special because it wasn't the band. They were classy and professional and great. We had governettes. Now, these girls with hats on looked like governors and long legs and beautiful girls. They had feature twirlers and they had drum majors. That was something to see. Back in the day, that was something to see. Now, I know it's making a comeback, and I happen to marry the feature twirler, the one right here. She chased me and chased me, I'll tell you. That was it, huh? Yeah. So anyway, got all that going for us, and the band was a big part. So we go in, and that week, that Thursday, Friday, and then we played the game Saturday. I'm going to tell you what, I'm not so sure there's ever been any more excitement about a football game and about a bunch of kids trying to do something special than there ever has been at this university. And I'm a little prejudiced, but it was special. It was very special. Well, there's 1:04 left in the game. We're winning against Middle Tennessee State University, which we don't like, didn't like, still don't like. We don't even like Boots Donley, by the way, okay? I know he's on the wall, but we don't like him. We're on the 4-yard line down here with 1:04. The only reason I knew that was because the scoreboard was right. It said 1:04, you know? So we ended up losing that game. They went 96 yards, scored, and beat us. Now we were crushed. And you know, we lost that battle. We didn't lose the war. We lost that battle. And now the great thing about it was we go ahead and finish out and win the rest of our games. Now that game, that was our bowl game because whoever won that bowl game probably was going to play in the Grantland Rice Bowl. And other than the Charity Bowl we played in, that was the next bowl, kind of the real bowl, you know. We would have played there. Now, We didn't get to play that. The whole city of Clarksville was stunned and just a heck of a football game. It was a great environment. But you know what? We finished out. 4 of those guys off that team signed professional football contracts. The rest of those guys went on to be very successful. And you learn a couple of things. We learned about living in a dormitory, didn't have air conditioning, a black and white television, and no internet, no computers, but we learned about love and trust, love and like, and love and respect. Now, I want to tell you about love and like. I love all these guys. I love each and every one of them. Now, I don't like them all. And there's one guy I didn't like. That was Dylan. I never liked Dylan. Now, Dylan's about 6'5", got a crooked arm. He walks in sections, you know. But the nice part about Dylan is when he got angry, he didn't verbally challenge you. He physically challenged you. See, we had Sammy Platt and Carl Platt one day at practice when he was a sophomore at transfer. Yeah, Sammy and Carlton were going to get him. Well, that didn't work out too well. Nah. But we don't like each other sometimes. But I'm going to tell you what, I want to see a closer group. Now, we had some close groups at their golf course yesterday. The Ted Potter group, and we had the Bud Coley group. And those guys stayed together for a long, long time, shared a lot of personal memories and everything like that. But we learned a lot when we were here at Austin Peay with not having a lot. We didn't have any facilities, but we thought we were first class. We didn't have all this stuff. We had dormitory, no air conditioning, but we had people who loved us. We had deans of students when there was a fight break out at halftime or after the game. Dean Savage was out there, and he was a little skinny, ugly guy with a pipe. He's out there swinging away. He didn't know what he was swinging at.
Yeah.
I don't know, he may even hit somebody, didn't he?
Middle Tennessee.
I know, I'll tell you, didn't mess with Dean Savage. And I'm not so sure President Morgan wasn't out there, but Dean Savage was in the action. So if you have any deans, you have an instruction, the fight breaks out, get in. Now, I'm sure I left out a lot of things.